Between 1979 and 1981, nearly 30 black children vanished from the streets of Atlanta. Most were found dead, strangled, beaten, or asphyxiated, their bodies discarded in woods, vacant lots, or rivers. Fear gripped a city that had once felt safe. The city of Atlanta in the late 1970s was known as the city too busy to hate. It was a hub of black excellence, with thriving businesses, music, and culture shaping its national reputation. But beneath the bustling streets and shiny skyscrapers, a darkness was growing, one that would strike terror into the hearts of every parent. This is the story of the Atlanta child murders, a case that paralyzed a city, sparked one of the largest manhunts in U.S. history, and ended with an arrest that still leaves questions unanswered. By the late 1970s, Atlanta was booming. It had become a center for African-American progress, celebrated as a model of achievement in business, arts, and civil rights. Yet poverty, unemployment, and lingering segregation haunted many neighborhoods. Kids played outside freely, riding bikes to the corner store, shooting hoops until dark, or running errands for neighbors. They walked to school without fear, at least until the summer of 1979. That's when the first children began disappearing. On July 21, 1979, 14-year-old Edward Hope Smith vanished. 4 days later, 13-year-old Alfred Evans disappeared. Their bodies were discovered in the same wooded area, just feet apart. Edward had been shot. Alfred was strangled. Police initially brushed off the killings as drug-related, but the black community knew something far darker was unfolding. Months later, 14-year-old Milton Harvey was riding his bike to the bank for his mother on September 4th. His bicycle turned up abandoned a week later. His body wasn't found until November, strangled, dumped far from home. Then came 9-year-old Yusuf Bell. On October 21st, he set out to buy snuff for a neighbor and never returned. Witnesses saw him enter a blue car. 2 weeks later, his body was found in a crawl space of an abandoned school, beaten and strangled. Despite mounting evidence, authorities were slow to act. Parents began raising their voices, demanding answers as more children went missing. By spring 1980, the list of victims grew. 10-year-old Jeffrey Mathis vanished while buying cigarettes for his mother. 12-year-old Angel Lanier, the first female victim, was discovered tied to a tree, strangled. The killings followed a chilling rhythm. Children vanished while running ordinary errands. Their bodies surfaced days or weeks later in isolated areas. Parents were too terrified to let kids outside. The city imposed curfews. Volunteers scoured fields and creeks every weekend. Rumors swirled. Some whispered about a pedophile ring. Others suspected the Ku Klux Klan. Police remained slow to connect the dots, deepening distrust in city authorities. Atlanta had a predator, and he wasn't stopping. If you're finding this case breakdown compelling and want to follow more stories just like it, make sure to subscribe to Evidence Trail. We cover some of the darkest and most puzzling true crime stories in history, and you won't want to miss what's next. By late 1980, pressure on law enforcement was intense. The mayor called in the FBI, assembling a task force of over 100 agents. Profilers suggested the killer was a young black man familiar with neighborhoods, someone able to blend in unnoticed. The murders continued, intervals shrinking from weeks to days. Witnesses reported a man handing out flyers, claiming to be a music producer scouting young talent. His name would soon become infamous: Wayne Williams. In January 1981, forensic experts discovered unusual green carpet fibers on multiple victims. Fibers traced to a single, rare carpet style. Investigators quietly sought the source. Bodies began appearing in rivers, dumped from bridges at night. Police set up stakeouts along the Chattahoochee and South Rivers. On May 22, 1981, officers near a bridge heard a splash. Moments later, a white Chevrolet station wagon passed slowly, then turned around. They pulled over the driver, 23-year-old Wayne Williams, wearing glasses and a baseball cap. Williams described himself as a talent scout and freelance photographer. He roamed the city at night, chasing dreams of forming a music group. When questioned, he oddly mentioned the missing children before police could. 2 days later, the body of Nathaniel Cater, a 27-year-old man, was discovered downstream from the same bridge. Williams failed multiple polygraphs. Dog hairs and fibers from his home, car, and clothing matched evidence on several victims. Witnesses recalled seeing him with boys shortly before their deaths. On June 21, 1981, Wayne Williams was arrested. Williams's trial began in January 1982 and lasted nearly 2 months. He was charged with killing 2 adults, Nathaniel Cater and Jimmy Ray Payne. whose bodies had been found in the river. Prosecutors relied heavily on forensic evidence. Fibers from Williams's green carpet, a yellow blanket, and even his dog linked him to multiple victims. Though circumstantial, the web of fibers tied too many deaths back to Williams's environment to be dismissed as coincidence. The defense argued that the evidence was unreliable and that Williams was a scapegoat. Alternative suspects, including Klan members, were highlighted, but the jury was convinced. After 11 hours of deliberation, Williams was found guilty and sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms. After his arrest, the murders largely stopped. Authorities attributed at least 20 killings to Williams, though he was never tried for them. Debate over the case persists. Supporters argue the fiber evidence was flawed and mishandled under pressure. Alternative leads, including known pedophiles and violent offenders, were never fully pursued. Families remain divided. Some believe justice was served, others insist the true killers walked free. DNA testing in the 2000s yielded inconclusive results. In 2019, Atlanta officials reopened the investigation using modern technology. Wayne Williams maintains his innocence. The Atlanta child murders remain one of the darkest chapters in U.S. history. 29 young lives, mostly poor black children, were stolen. A city that prided itself on progress was forced to confront fear, distrust, and the value placed on its most vulnerable citizens. For many, Wayne Williams is the monster who ended those lives. For others, he's a scapegoat. The devastation is undeniable. Families never recovered. Children grew up in fear, unable to roam the streets alone. Over 40 years later, the case lingers like an open wound. Was justice served, or does the truth lie buried with the victims? We may never know, but the names of the children, their lost futures, and the haunting reminder that shadows can fall suddenly and without warning remain etched in Atlanta's memory. Thanks for watching today's video. If you want to keep uncovering cases where the evidence tells a deeper story, subscribe to Evidence Trail. See you with our next investigation.